We're getting ready to make pie crust. Okay, so I'm gonna start off. Real easy peasy recipe, can't fail.
Before we get started on this week's adventure, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss any of our adventures.
So we need 3½ cups of flour. So as you can see, I don't measure everything to the exact. To me, to the exact never works out. So I just toss it in there. So don't worry if you got a little bit more or whatever. So 3½ cups of flour. Then I usually use the sea salt, and then it says a teaspoon of sea salt, but in all honesty, I just do a pinch. I don't want the chunk in there. That's the only bad thing about the salt, is they have a way of crystallizing. Then it is 1.5 cups of shortening, and you know your Crisco shortening comes in these packets, or you can get them in a tin. I have a couple left, so I'm going to go ahead and use them up. So this is it says 1/2 cup. Of course, you want to wash your hands before you start, where you get stuff like this. That sure looks like more than 1/2 cup. Let me read this direction. 1/2 cup. It's a whole cup. 1 whole cup. So there we go. There's a whole cup. All right. So now we want 1/2 cup. So I'll cut this in half. It's a good thing you always check after yourself, because I thought it read 1/2 cup and I had to re-look at that. That doesn't look like 1/2 cup. Alright, knife out here, and we'll cut it at the halfway point, which is right here, right there. Okay, there we go. And we'll wrap that back up. I'll put it in a plastic bag because I already tossed out the other thing. Yeah, we'll use that another time. I always wash my hands 2-3 times or more when I'm cooking. Now let's see. Alright, so remember this tool here? I mentioned this before. I don't know if I didn't. I apologize. Here it is. This is a great little tool for putting air in your crust, so that, or biscuits or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grate it until it looks kind of crumbly. That way you get thin crust, not too heavy. I mean, you got air in there. It makes your crust so much more flaky and delicious than those heavy crusts. So just do this, work it all in until it looks like kind of like cornmeal kind of stuff. See there? Looks pretty good. Everything's all mixed up. Okay, so now it calls for a cup of milk. So I have almond milk right now. I'm going to use that because I cannot have dairy. So this will be the one that I use. 1 cup. Now, of course, liquids, they go by the measure. Now, sometimes people put a little bit of sugar in theirs if they want that extra little sweet crust. That's fine too. I don't do that. So then we'll mix this up. Alright, that's about as easy as I can make it for you. Alright. And now I'm going to get it rolled out for you as soon as I get all this off. Over there. Whoops. Some dough. Alright. We're going to get the rolling pin out. In my pie pan. A little bit of flour. I'm going to knead this a little bit better. Make sure everything's all mixed right. Okay. And then we're going to take out a block of pie crust. Make sure it's floured on both sides. Take my rolling pin and gently roll it into a circle. Let me move a lot of my flour up. Sometimes I'll put a trash can underneath me too because I'm bound to have flour land all over the floor. Okay. If it looks like it's getting too dry on top, you could always add more flour, or you could flip it over. In which case, I'm going to be using a deep pie pan. So I want to get it nice and round, and you can see flour is falling off the edge. That's okay. That's what brooms are made for. Alright, there we go. So let's flip her up. And put her on. There we go. There. Now I can put my apple pie in here. Or whatever pie you want. Okay. So I always go along the edge. And I cut off. Okay. That way, when I put my top crust on, I'm going to be able to go from underneath this. I try to make sure I have enough to go to stretch out to make sure I got to the edge of everything. Try not to take away too much. I want something to work with. Okay. Doesn't take no time at all. There you go. See there? Pie crust is in the pan, and I'm using a deep crust. Pretty quick, huh? Alright, so doesn't look all that pretty right now, but it will. So hang on. We're going to do the top now. You can make these just as fancy as you want to make them. For this apple pie, I think instead of a full crust, I'm going to make the strips. Okay, so let's turn it over and make sure it's all floured. I don't want my pie crust to be too heavy, remember, so I roll it right down to being thin, as thin as possible. And I'm gonna make my browns as much as I can. But I'm not gonna make them very thick, as in width-wise. So there you are, the finished product. I went along the edge, as you can see, tucked everything underneath. I've got the one layer going across like this. Then we have another layer going across like that. And we try not to have too much of a space opened up in between it. By doing this, you should have made almost a full crust all the way around. And that way we'll cut back on a lot of your spillage. But we will see how this pie will come out and give it a great taste later on. When my husband gets home, he will appreciate nice hot apple pie. Hang in there. Let's see what the final product looks like.